cell in the background.
Oh, son of a bitch. Hang on. I am in the wrong Facebook account on this computer.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, I'm in my professional account. Don't want this going out there.
No.
Oh, I need it. Where are you? Oh, Jesus Christ. There we go. Hello. I still got your beer in my fridge. It's safe. Don't worry.
He still has your beer in his fridge.
It's safe. Okay, well it's safe. No one's gonna touch it. I promise.
Love you too. All right.
Let's try to see.
Rest. Well, you should watch our show. We'll lift your spirits.
I'll dance.
Luke said he'll dance. Naked? She said naked.
That can be arranged.
That could be arranged.
I have never gotten that response from a female in my entire life. Let me just say that right now. No one's like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Nope, never.
That's my girl.
Yeah, I gotta get some more memory sticks in this thing.
We're live.
All right. We are now live on Facebook.
Rock and roll.
Three people that'll be watching us tonight.
Yeah.
All right. As always, this is Uncivil Liberty. My name is Luke. We also have Halston. And there's Halston, and Horace will join us momentarily. He had to reboot his system. And so we are going to be talking tonight on the ever-present shit show that is Alabama politics. Non-stop shit. Let me tell you, it's not one thing, it's another. We've got at the state level a lot of stuff happening with I think the House Majority Leader was actually was he indicted or convicted this week? Do you know?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, I'll have to look. But anyways, yet again, another state politician bites the dust. Corruption. Not surprised. You know, we've had the wonderful Robert Bentley, former governor, who was flying his girlfriend around on the taxpayer's dime, going to Vegas, getting his freak on with his 40-year-old junior of a mistress. More power to you.
Yeah.
Who else? We had Mike Hubbard, who was former Speaker of the House. Also, I think this was last year. He was shot down for some abusing his position or something along those lines. So yet again, another Alabama politician eating it. And tying into that, when you want to talk about corruption in Alabama politics, you can't really say anything about corruption unless you want to talk about Luther Strange.
That's right.
which was a big shakeup last night. And so we're going to kind of just take a look tonight at just some of the things that's trending as far as topics. One of the biggest things is the shakeup that I guess maybe people were expecting, maybe they weren't, when it comes to the special Senate election to replace Jeff Sessions' seat. So, Halston, you want to kick this off?
Yeah, man. Let's talk about Roy Moore, the libertarian.
Oh, yes, the libertarian. Shall we?
Yeah. What the fuck, man? You know?
That's all you can say. That's all you can say at this point is what the fuck. Then that was 10 o'clock last night, right here where I'm sitting. I'm just shaking my head going, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, we talk about, you know, laws being immoral all the time and or unjust laws or whatever. So I kind of see where his mindset was when he broke the law, quote unquote, and was removed from the bench. But he's a fucking judge.
The second time, for the
right,
record.
The second
time.
Yeah, like, there's a big fucking difference between someone sitting on the porch swing smoking a doobie and deciding to break the law that ruins people's lives. Like, yeah. Everyone that you could possibly touch as a judge that is under this specific umbrella, you just fuck them over. Just break the law. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
it's cool. I watch gay porn, but you guys can't get married.
Yeah, right. Well, let's take it a step back. What was your take on Luther Strange going into this? Like, how did you feel? Were you kind of silently going for him? I know that maybe some were kind of like, especially in libertarian circles, were like, God, we really don't like that Roy Moore guy. But maybe this Luther Strange, you know, but kind of a philosophy of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Where were you kind of at with the whole Strange thing?
Well, you know, there was like the part of me that's like, well, if Roy Moore wins, you know, that's one of those slap to the face of like the establishment Republicans, you know, because he's another wild card thrown into the mix. But the other side of me is like, fuck Roy Moore. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping, you know, deep down that Big Luther wins this. Hope he doesn't win the general. I didn't want him to win the general, of course, but I was kind of hoping that I didn't want him to be vying for the Senate seat, but I wanted him to beat Roy Moore.
Okay. Sense. Yeah. So you want to see him make it to the general election, then get beat out by somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, okay. But he's, I mean, like, how many corrupt politicians are there in Washington? Like, what's the big fucking difference if there's one more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how I was looking at it too. I was like, you know, at least I know where he's going to go. He's going to go where the money is. I can I understand his strategy. I don't like it. I don't approve of it. I wouldn't have voted for him. But when you're dealing with someone like that, you kind of know where they're going to go, and they're going to go where they can get the most bang for their buck, whether that's figuratively or literally. That's outside of my control. With Roy Moore, yeah, it's kind of because he's you know, he's a hard pill to swallow. He is. Yeah. He definitely is.
Yeah. Just a douche too. Like, just the fucking cowboy hat and this little tiny pea shoot that he pulled out on stage.
What was your take on that? Because I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and I'm like, people across the world are watching this. You know, maybe not everybody, but there are people in other countries that are interested in U.S. politics, and this was kind of a very hotly contested race. So they're seeing this guy from Alabama representing Alabama, dressed up like I believe John Bryce called him Wyatt Earp. I believe that was him. If I'm not giving the right credit to the right person, I apologize.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember who it was that said it was Wyatt Earp either, but yeah, he's a dickhead from Alabama wearing a hat from Texas, using a gun that a New York City hooker would have.
Oh, you know, like a bitch gun.
A bitch gun. It is a bitch gun, and it's not even like a classy ladies' gun. It's like the dude you stick out in the back alley to go murder someone and hope the gun works. You know, it's like, it's cool if this guy misfires and the guy beats his ass and kills him, but here's a gun, go shoot this guy. You know, it's one of those type of guns.
Yeah.
I think back to the years that I was traveling around the country working in other states that are much more polished than Alabama, and me saying, "Hi, my name's Halston Burris. I'm from Alabama," and they're like, "Fuck, we're gonna have to teach this guy how to read before he can teach us class," like. And that's all I was thinking was this dumb motherfucker's up on stage pulling out a gun, and that's exactly how people in Alabama see us. Like, I'm willing to bet I have more guns than Roy Moore. I'm willing to bet that. But I'm also, and I'm responsible. And I'm not just going to be like, look at this, I got a gun. Like, what are you fucking doing? You're pointing the barrel at your face, you dumb motherfucker, and people are cheering him on. Just, I don't know.
Hey, Horace just joined. Hey, Horace.
Sorry, I would have been here quicker, but technical issues with trying to get the app to work.
That's fine. That's
Roy Moore probably shot it.
Yeah. So we're just kind of talking. We kind of got this this little shindig started talking about the big to do last night with Strange and Moore, and just kind of getting Halston to weigh in on it. Horace, what you got for me?
Alabama somehow never manages to astound me and shock me and surprise me with the depths of stupidity this state can reach.
Okay. No, that's fair. And I think I kind of summed that up on my own personal Facebook. This morning I woke up and I felt like I needed to apologize to America as a whole. For the I believe I called them mouth breathers in Alabama who voted for Roy Moore. And I did get some private texts being like, you're really hot on this mouth breather thing, and I'm like, yeah, because it's true. Because these people who are advocating for Roy Moore, that's pretty much just what they are. There's really no better way for me to describe them at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I felt inclined to apologize to my friends and their friends and just say, look, there are a handful of rational people in Alabama, and they weren't represented yesterday in the polls, that's for sure. But of course, it was a GOP runoff, so there were rational people really weren't truly all that involved in the GOP runoff.
We weren't allowed to show up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I'm not registered for any party, but I wasn't gonna go out.
Apparently, Alabama does not do party registration.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, well, I didn't vote in the primary, so
yeah, it's not registering to vote for your party. It's just you are only allowed to vote for one party's primary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. I didn't vote for anyone.
It's like a Class C felony if you do it. I read that yesterday.
Mm. No,
Alabama's got some weird laws.
Yeah.
I thought we were a state that did have party registration, and I commented on a post on Facebook that, technically I'm a registered Republican, and somebody commented, how can you be when Alabama doesn't have party registration? It's like, well, okay. So,
and I'm used to states where you register as parties, or you just don't register a party. And so,
well, it's it's like I said, I thought I was. I mean, with two exceptions, every election I voted in, I voted GOP.
Mm-hmm.
The two exceptions were the first time Clinton ran.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he might be the next JFK.
Mm-hmm.
And
then the ladies.
Oh yeah, that's about the only way though. And then in 2012, Gary Johnson.
Okay. I'm trying to think of the time I've ever voted Democrat or Republican. I don't think I have, especially on a presidential level. I don't think I've ever voted either one of those parties.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I voted for Bush when I was a dumb private and thought that Republicans are the way to go for everybody in the military. They keep us in war, keep us paid.
Which was weird because when I was in, I was like, this John Kerry guy, I can get behind this John Kerry guy because we don't need to be going to another war because Korea sucks as it is. I can't imagine anywhere else.
Yeah, I was the other way around, and I was ready to body slam some motherfuckers, because that's what soldiers do.
Wrong. Excuse me. I guess I wasn't a soldier.
And then I voted the next election. I voted for Obama.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll move past that awkward.
Yeah, definitely.
Ready for the combo breaker, you know.
Mm-hmm. But no, it's with the upset, I guess, quote unquote upset, with this whole Strange and More thing. From more of my perspective is I'm kind of pissed at the fact that the president flew into Huntsville, inconvenienced me in my drive. For one, that pisses me off more than anything else. But number two is the fact that taxpayer funds were used to fuel. They were saying Air Force One. I believe it was Air Force Two, because it was a much smaller version. But still, not a cheap plane to fly, along with all the security details.
From what I understand, any plane that the president in is automatically Air Force One. It's not a specific plane. Air Force Two is the VP's plane.
Okay. All right. Well, it was like a 737 versus his normal like 777 or 7 whatever he flies in.
Yeah, it wasn't the big one.
It's a call sign. It's a call sign is all that is.
It's just like if the president's on a helicopter, that helicopter is automatically Marine One.
Okay, perfect. All right, then I learn something new every day, and that's a piece of knowledge that I'll take to the grave with me. But either way, it's this idea, and I've never been a huge fan of any, especially any sitting president utilizing taxpayer funds to campaign. That's not why he's there. That's not what he's getting paid to do. That's something that needs to come either out of the party's pocket that he's representing or out of the candidate's pocket himself. It shouldn't be coming out of my pocket. It shouldn't be coming out of your pocket. What do you guys think?
You're exactly right.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no way around that.
But then again,
I don't obviously think there is a way around it. You just fucking do it if you're the president. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I just don't get that. But I mean, it was a futile trip down to Huntsville. I'm glad the president got to see Huntsville and chastise some NFL players while he was here, and get his ego stroked, and then head back to Washington.
That may come back to bite him hard.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading an article that because of the way he phrased it, if that is deemed to be influencing an employer, blah blah, that's a federal felony.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As many felonies as Bush and Obama had, Trump has got a carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Yes, technically by law, yes, there may be some grounds, but no one's going to go after it. The Capitol Hill will spit a big game at it, and then it'll all fall apart. It's no big deal.
I don't know, and because it is Trump, I can see them potentially using this to get him out, and then we have Pence.
Oh, see, that's why I think Trump chose Pence. Is because it's kind of like, oh, you want to get rid of me? I ain't got to deal with this guy. Think about that for a second before you pull that trigger. All
That's right.
Strategic moves. It's not that they have a love affair for each other. It's just like, hey, pick somebody worse than you who's going to be your replacement. Make people want to keep you around longer. But I guess when you kind of tie this back to the Alabama political side of things, though, with more, what's next? What next steps do you guys see in this parade of silliness that is this Senate seat?
A lot of pushing by a lot of people for Doug Jones.
Yeah,
and I can see that starting to come out in some of the libertarian groups here locally, which is kind of depressing a little bit. The LP, by the way, has decided they're going to run a write-in candidate, which is cool. Hey, more power to them. I will hope the Green Party gets in on this too and throws somebody out there. This way we can dilute the pool a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's we're starting to see a couple of like the libertarians inside the libertarian groups saying, okay, I'm going to lean towards Doug Jones on this one. And you're kind of like, okay, wait a second. Why are you doing this? I thought you were, somebody of principle. Why are you just voting just to vote? Do you see more people just voting just to vote because more's on the ballot?
I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Horace. Yeah, you go ahead.
I think in this election, it's not going to be so much people voting for Doug Jones as voting against Roy Moore.
Okay, Halston?
Yeah. Well, I think considering the outpouring of emotion and adoration for Roy Moore from some of the libertarians in Alabama, I mean, yeah, of course, when you see someone jumping off the deep end for someone so far right and so far embedded in theocracy, yeah, you're gonna see some people jump off on the socialistic side too. I mean, I looked at some of Doug Jones's platform, and it's right on line with all the stuff that we agree with socially, but politically he's still a Democrat. I mean, that's just the way. That's the reality.
Economically, he's still on the that side of the tracks. Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I see people jumping off the diving board either way on both sides of that pool, just because it's what people do now. They just have to pick someone, and they feel like they're not doing their civic duty, as opposed to, like you always say, you're literally giving someone consent to make laws on your behalf. Why would you vote for them if you don't believe in their shit?
Yeah, if you're willing to sacrifice your principles to get somebody in who's contradictory to your principles, you just said my principles are shit, but I want this guy to represent me. You've nullified your own stance. You've killed whatever you believe in to support this person.
Yeah.
I like the analytical approach that some people are taking now, and they're looking at this like, okay, if Roy Moore wins, then there's the vote that the Senate needs to do whatever they need to do for the Republican Party. So I'm going to vote Democrat, or if I voted Democrat and Doug Jones wins, then the Republicans don't get Roy Moore, and then they look further down the line and they see, well, the Republicans are kind of shitting the bed, so there's going to be a lot of Democrats taking seats back.
Yeah.
And then here I am contributing to them passing their law. When in fact, fucking, what are you doing? Because you're still sacrificing your principles to play this analytical bullshit game. Yeah.
No, but I have a little more. I have a little more respect for people who are playing the analytical game, who are looking at it from a more strategic perspective, because there is a level of thought going into it. Thank God you're not just following marketing that's being put out by whatever group, but you're actually kind of thinking this through to an upteenth degree of strategy. But again, like you just said, you're still sacrificing things that you claim you value just to be able to vote. And I was really hard on this during the primaries with a lot of the libertarians who were pimping Roy Moore. They're pimping Roy Moore, Mo Brooks, a couple of the other ones. I'm like, these people don't represent you if you claim to believe in the libertarianism, and even if it's big L, little L. If you believe in these principles be true, these guys don't. These guys are actually opposed to what you believe. So why are you supporting them? And the response is, I got to be pragmatic about it. We're never going to get like a libertarian to do it. We got to vote. You don't have to vote. It is a right. It is not an obligation. And that's why I rarely ever vote. And I think, Horace, you're the same way. You don't really vote all that much yourself because it requires you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I haven't voted since 2012.
Holy shit.
You're right over there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, and the same here. I honestly cannot remember the last time I actually voted, because there's nobody on the ballot that actually represents me and my principles close enough to actually be willing to pull the lever for. And even then, you can start getting the philosophical conversation of, voting is immoral. You can go super deep into the anarcho whatever side of the tracks you want to. But even if you just look from just the basic everyday modern day principles of voting, you're giving consent. You're saying I think you should make the laws that govern my life. I'm not there. I have yet to find somebody who's on the stage who's worth, me saying, yes, please make laws for me.
Well, I mean, my stance on it, because, we talked about it when you were talking about running in 2018.
Right.
Still
chewing on more of like a Vermin Supreme type character, maybe.
Yeah. It's like I told you then. It's like, I'll look over your stuff and point out potential flaws and everything, but outside of that, no, because I don't believe in the system. I'm not going to support the system at all. and you're one of my closest friends.
Yep.
If I'm not going to help you,
I respect that. I respect whether it's, an anarcho whatever or a libertarian comes out and says, "Hey, I just think the whole system is corrupt and broken, and I don't want to vote for anybody." I can respect that because you actually have some level of thought into it versus the just blindly following a party just because the party says you're supposed to. But Halston, I mean, like, what do you think? Why do you think that these people in these libertarian groups think that Roy Moore is this liberty-based mind, that he's just some sort of like Rand Paul, some sort of messiah to the libertarians who's gonna save and protect liberty?
After yesterday, I realized that there's I don't know if I would call it analytical, but it's definitely an ulterior motive. Maybe ulterior is not the right way, but it's definitely not to put Roy Moore in office. Like there's like the Wanda character, right? Absolutely adores Roy, worships Roy Moore,
she
as
does.
Jesus incarnate. But
God.
Some of the other people that we've made fun of in these groups, they were voting Roy Moore in the primary, but are going to withhold their vote in the general. It was kind of one of those, they would rather see him win the general against Doug Jones than Luther Strange.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe it's analytical, or maybe it's just they wanted to get corruption out of Alabama politics, and I can't with 100% confidence say that Roy Moore is corrupt. I don't think he's corrupt. I think that he is a dickhead, and I think he's a theocrat, but I don't think he's corrupt. So maybe that was the reasoning. I mean, I really couldn't tell you.
But what about his platform? What on his platform makes a big L, little L libertarian think that this guy is the person that needs my support? Unless they're a closet conservative, then maybe I can see that. And there's people you can kind of tell, okay, yeah, you're definitely a conservative Republican who wants to smoke pot. That's why you're hanging out in libertarian groups. I got you, no problem. But then there are some you're just kind of like, what the hell? What's his draw? Because he's not strong on civil rights. He's not strong on gun rights. He's what? Economics. I've never really heard the guy speak about economics.
No.
Horace, what do you know of anything that Roy Moore represents that the average everyday libertarian is going to be like, hey, this is my guy?
He's the antithesis of libertarianism.
I think I posted that earlier today.
I mean, he is everything that libertarianism is not. He wants a theocracy. He wants the Holy Bible to be the new book of, the new law book.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he doesn't want freedom. He doesn't want freedom of speech. He doesn't want freedom at all. He wants a biblical society, based on his particular interpretation of that book.
Right.
Is that not Sharia law?
It is 100%.
It is the Christian version of it.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
What is that? Levitican law or something like that? I can't. There's a term for it, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, in the ancient Judaic tradition, the Levites were the ones who were the kind of like the lawyers of.
Yeah. I think that's what it's called. I think it's called
Levitical law. Yeah, and that's where you see a lot of the law in Leviticus in the actual Bible itself, which is funny because there's so much in that book that the right likes to use as the reasoning for being opposed to homosexuality. There's a ton of other things they just completely and totally ignore.
Oh God! Yes.
How about fucking Roy Moore on stage wearing mixed
fabrics?
Yeah.
If that guy went to have a lobster dinner after he won, oh my God, he's breaking the Bible again. The Bible has been broken. I don't know. It drives me crazy, and we're also starting to see, more and more people looking at Doug Jones. So we'll shift away from the Republicans and let's talk a little bit about Doug Jones. At least give some, a fair amount of time to him. I've read his platform. I'm not overly impressed. It seems like he is just the run-of-the-mill kind of, tagging on to, the Obama legacy to an extent. What do you guys think? Have you guys researched him at all? How do you feel about him?
I haven't really. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna start calling people out.
yeah. So he definitely supports the Medicare for all. So he's along those lines, but I mean he's a strong supporter of civil rights for sure. Didn't mention anything about gun rights, so I'm not 100% sure. But he's I want to say he's like lives in Birmingham proper, so he's probably, being in an urban environment like that, he's probably opposed to gun laws, as most urban Democrats are. Opposed to gun laws, opposed to guns.
Oh well, I know what you meant.
But he's also he supports a lot of personal liberties outside of that, but still toes the party lines. That's what I was saying. He's like us three in particular. He's libertarian in that sense, like, along the social lines, along the economic lines. He's dyed in the wool.
So. His viewpoints match up to what the libertarian like party platform is from us, the social perspective. Okay.
Yeah.
What Horace? What about you? Have you got any insight on this platform?
I haven't really looked at him. Some of the comments I have seen described him as what was it? Your typical socialist Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
So, beyond that,
like Bernie Sanders level socialist, or are we talking about just socialist because they're Democrat?
Probably closer to your typical Democrat. Definitely not a blue dog.
No, not blue dog.
Like you said, supports Medicare for all. Like I said, I haven't really looked into him. I'm gonna have to look into him more. But honestly, regardless, this is one election where I don't care. If somebody, says, well, who would you recommend? Doug Jones. Just because it's not Roy Moore.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's that bad.
I was talking to, I was on a thread earlier talking to some dude. It was another guy from Alabama that was in the Satanic Temple. But he was talking about, what do we have to do to get a Democrat in office in Alabama? And he was like, the Democrat in the last election in 2016 garnered 1/3 of the support. And, but when you start talking about a Democrat winning a state election like that, a statewide election, a statewide position, and you're talking about he garnered 1/3 of the support, like you can't just, it's not Sesame Street math. You don't just take these points away from this guy and give those points to this guy and say, okay, well, this is what we have to win. That's really not what happens, because you get to a certain point where you've taken some points away in the poll, and then the Republican Party just starts dumping money into the ads, and they start dumping money into their campaign, and the Democrats just aren't going to dump that kind of money into someone in Alabama.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same with the LP, honestly, because the LP national level will not give any money to any of their candidates here in Alabama, which is kind of stupid. But yeah.
Well, I mean, historically, it's a lost cause.
Yeah.
Why throw good money after bad?
When's the last time we won a? I mean, idiot.
I didn't win shit.
I got a mouse in my pocket. When's the last time Democrats won a Senate seat? Right? Fucking
in Alabama. Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
And Richard Shelby was a Democrat. That's how long ago it's been.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that was the last time. And
I didn't know that.
If you think a socialist is going to win the ticket in Alabama, you're nuts. I mean, is there a chance because he's running against such a douchebag? Maybe. Maybe some people will be like he's a douchebag, but all those maybe he's a douchebag just supported him. So, I mean, if all those same people turn out and they're like, well, fuck Roy Moore, but I ain't no Democrat, you're still not going to get those votes.
No, you won't. I'm just curious to see the ones who are not you know, let's say the Republican voters, who are not as extremist as the Moore camp, where are they going to fall in this? Are they going to follow party lines like they always have? Or are they going to start breaking ranks and looking elsewhere for independent or third party? Because there's been a lot of talk about third party stuff especially since the last election.
Yeah.
Kind of where they're going to fall in this mix, and that's something I'm kind of curious to see. I guess more from just an observer perspective.
Yeah, I think the Baptists and I mean, when bringing religion back into it, of course, the Baptists and the Methodists are still going to fall in line behind Roy Moore because that's how they feel. I think the newer edgy those edgy Presbyterians, you know, they're probably going to lean more towards Jones, I would imagine.
Yeah, the Episcopalians, the Wiscopalians, as I've always called them. I've always heard them called. They'll lean more left.
Yeah. So I mean, there's gonna be some divide among those middle of the road voters. But I just can't see enough of them falling towards someone who has such socialistic principles, even though they're not that bad. I mean, they're not Bernie Sanders. They're much more along the lines of Obama, Clinton type of policy.
This whole Medicare for all thing. In case people don't know, I work inside the insurance world. I am licensed in insurance and investments. I know I don't come across like that. I don't dress like, one of those hoity-toity salespeople. I got all the licenses and certifications for it, and they're active. Medicare is a shit system. Okay, it is a horrible, horrible system that is, that's run by the Social Security Administration, who's 3 years behind on issuing disability checks. So the entire process from start to finish is just a crap idea. If you're gonna, the Medicare for all is a last ditch effort for some sort of universal type coverage. Problem is that Medicare pays such low rates, doctors have been dropping them like massively over the past couple of years because they take forever to pay and they don't pay very much. So this whole Medicare for all thing, no one's actually looking at the fine print. They're getting caught up in the emotions of having free shit and not really thinking it through.
Yeah, and I think more people are going to start, more doctors and medical clinics across the board are going to start leaning more towards, we're not going to accept any insurance, before they would be like, oh yeah, let's give me the Medicaid people or Medicare people. They would be much more likely to do that.
When the issue is, and if you look at it from a hospital perspective, because I spent 6 years at United Healthcare. I kind of learned a lot of the ins and outs of how health insurance works, just being in that horrible company. But what hospitals do is they take a loss on a lot of these Medicare and Medicaid patients and then turn around and upcharge private insurance. That's why premiums go up on private insurance. That's why you're paying $800 for a bag of saline that only costs $250 from the manufacturer, is because they're trying to make up for the loss of having, by contract, having to support the Medicare people, and Medicare doesn't pay worth a damn. And so what's going to happen when you have a massive influx of Medicare people? The quality of healthcare is going to go down because nobody's going to want to be doctors, because there's no one else to kind of overcharge to kind of get that extra money that they need to keep the hospital going.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, people just don't. I mean, they don't understand it. I mean, I really do feel for people that can't afford health insurance. I feel for them, and I understand the pain that they go through. But there's also so many people that abuse it, that cause rates to go up. And then there's so many places like hospitals that are just upcharging these people because they have to take care of these people. So it's just kind of a shit show that a lot of people don't understand. It's just, it's all, their hearts break to the point that they can't think about it from an economic standpoint. It goes back to what we were saying a couple of weeks ago. People don't know how to draw the line between economics and social issues.
Yeah,
they intermingle a little bit, but when you're talking about real social issues and real economic issues, they're opposite ends of the spectrum. They're not mutually inclusive.
Yeah, and economics doesn't care about feelings, and that's one thing that people have got to learn, is that it's not about how you feel, it's about kind of what is. Yeah. All right, so we've kind of covered Doug Jones. We can roll over into the LP. The LP's got a dog in his fight. That's not a Michael Vick joke. That's just a euphemism.
But you need to adjust your mic.
I need to adjust my mic. Is this better?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I moved my mic a little bit. I must have knocked something. Anyways, huh?
It seems like when you turn your head away, the volume just drops off. When you face
better?
it, that's much better.
Oh God! All right, hang on. All right, so going back
mouth.
to it. So anyway, all right. So the LP is launching a write-in candidate. This is something they announced, I think, last night. It's not official yet. He'll be doing his official announcement, I believe, this weekend. Last name is Bishop. I want to say his first name is Ron. Not 100% sure on that. Never met the guy. Never even seen him in any of my libertarian Facebook groups. But apparently, this guy is going to take up the reins as a write-in. He's been vetted by the executive committee at the state, so we're not going to have another issue with Sam McClure kind of candidate coming in and causing a big scene and a big mess and then bouncing over to the Republicans. What do you guys think as far as the LP? What does the LP need to do to even take votes away from Roy
Moore? I don't know, man.
And moving on. All right.
Right, I mean,
no.
If he had a name like Dragon Slayer or something like that, you put up a billboard, write in Dragon Slayer, but write in Ron Bishop. I mean, maybe the guy has a fantastic platform. I don't really know. I don't know anything about him. But if we don't know anything about him and all we do is talk about politics, I mean, how the fuck is regular Joe going to know about him?
In all fairness, he just came in. His website's launching this weekend, so it's going to have his platform on it. So I mean, it's not like he's been kind of just in the mix. Like this is something that's kind of brand spanking new.
And the election is not until December.
Yeah, so there's a couple of months.
So, but yeah, honestly, number one, because I was trying to order my thoughts. Number one, they've got to get his name out there so people actually know it and know that there is another option.
Marketing 101.
Two, for God's sake, people, make sure this guy is principled.
Yes. I was having conversations with somebody on the executive committee, and it was confirmed that his principles match up to the platform. So but also it's politics. So principles change very quickly in politics.
Well, from what I've seen of the executive committee, they're somewhat lacking in principles themselves.
It's a new executive committee, probably not the one that you're used to. It's a big shake up this year at the convention. As far as leadership, there's a massive change in leadership.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily saying it's the perfect and the best, but it's not what I was used to when I first came into the LP here in the state of Alabama. It's different, a little more progressed, and I guess activities, communication. They're starting to get things a little more streamlined. So I will give them credit where credit's due. But there still definitely is some work. What about Holliston? You got anything else? What can the LP do to win your vote?
Well, I mean, the principles thing, that's got to be there. But even though, right? So I mean, if you look at it like football or anything else, even though it's a lot more important than football, but you have a team, right? So let's pick Alabama, right? Roll Tide, by God. Which it's a really solid team, right?
I go for the Gamecocks. Gamecocks are my peoples.
I love the Cocks too, right? So, but you have, and like they're way out of the league of trying to get people to know their names. But like you take Alabama, right? Alabama's a really solid football team. They have the principles of football. They have it down really well, right? They don't get in trouble a lot. They run the ball hard. They pass well enough. They play really good defense. So they hit all their P's and Q's that they're supposed to hit. That's what I'm looking for in a candidate. Not only do you have the principles, not only are you able to play football like my poor Gamecocks, they're able to play football, but they're not very good at it. So I would like to have someone that I can pull for and throw my name behind that is a good team, right? That not only do they have a chance to win if they were out there well enough and they put enough money behind them or whatever, but that they would win and do a good job. And they would be presentable, right? Not just play football well, Like there are other teams that play football well, but you got 9 players that have felonies, and you got a bunch of bullshit going on in the background, or you're paying them to come play for your school.
Just that's someone the GOP,
right? Yeah, you got that they are a good candidate for what I believe in, and they can also win. They know how to go out there and get the point across, and they can debate well. They have their shit together. I mean, like that's what this guy has to do. He has to have his shit together.
No, I can totally see that. I mean, that should be for any person that's taken on an office or a mantle such as this. They got to have it, They got to have their shit together. They got everything that you just laid out. It needs to be across the board. It's not just dependent on one party. This is the way it should be. Unfortunately, in Alabama, that's not the case. You can be the biggest bottom feeder in the world, and as long as you coddle enough of them testicles, you're going to be able to get into a public office, especially with ballot access being what it is in this state.
Yeah, as Decatur just demonstrated. Since we just lost our state representative.
Yes, we were talking about that earlier. The House Majority Leader, I believe.
Yep.
So that guy. What was his charges? What was he brought up on?
He pled guilty to felony mail fraud.
Mail fraud. That's what it was. Mail fraud.
Right. Not just mail fraud. Not just mail fraud. Felony mail fraud.
I didn't know there was a misdemeanor mail fraud. So.
Is he fucking stealing Social Security checks? Or what the fuck is he doing?
Hard times in the Alabama legislature. Let me tell you.
Using mail-in donations to his campaign for personal uses.
I'm not surprised. Oh my God, that's that stuff. Oh, it's so rampant. Oh my God.
That's got to be a major roundabout way to fuck somebody by getting them on mail fraud, by them taking something out of the mail, putting it on their desk, opening it up, depositing in their bank, and then spending it at a store. Oh, that's mail fraud. That's where it started.
That's priceless. All right, so yeah, another GOP, Alabama State. Bit the
that's 4 now.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad because like before I came to Alabama, I was in New Hampshire. This shit never happened up there. The Democrats in New Hampshire and the Republicans, for the most part, they got along. There wasn't all that much corruption, if any at all, especially in like the legislature. They did their business and they went home. Everybody was kind of cool with each other. They disagreed. They debated like statesmen do, and then they went out and had beers, and everything was fine. Coming to Alabama, it's just like, what the hell have I walked into? It's just it's a casserole of shit. It's a casserole of shit. It's what it is, and I'm just like, oh, blown away. There's always something going on, which keeps it interesting.
I just wonder, like, what is it all across the South? Because I know South Carolina's the same way. I mean, they had a fucking governor that's using taxpayer money to go have an affair in Venezuela or Argentina or some shit, and then next you turn around, he's a fucking senator.
It's the South. It's like the Bible Belt for some reason is the most corrupt when it comes to politics per capita. I don't think Jesus would agree. I really don't. I think nobody is following the what would Jesus do. They need to get that bracelet, put it on, and be like, what would Jesus do? Probably not bang hookers, and probably not steal money from taxpayers. I'm not a Christian, but I don't think Jesus was a big fan of that.
No.
All right, so that pretty much defines a lot of the political landscape in Alabama for this race right here. Do you guys see any other third parties throwing anything out there?
Not really. I mean, honestly, what I am seeing as far as third parties is a lot of people putting the entire idea on pause for the moment until the case for the national LP and Gary Johnson and that entire group and whoever else is involved with that case.
I think the Green Party's involved with that too.
Until they, because it's apparently being heard in front of the Supreme Court.
No, this is the case that you're in reference to is the presidential debate case, right? The access to the presidential debate.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can see that.
Depending on how the Supreme Court rules will have a big effect on how third parties operate, or even if they operate.
But that's also at a federal level, because the state level, the state do their own thing. Like we have like one of the hardest ballots to get on anywhere. I don't know if you guys ever have taken a look at other states' ballots, but during the presidential election, I decided to pull up Colorado's ballot. I guess Colorado has no rules when it comes to getting on the ballot. It's pretty much just show up with a $50 check, and we'll put your name on a ballot because their list, no shit, had like 30-something people running for president on the Colorado ballot.
Yeah.
All different parties, all different, independents all over the place. So, whereas Alabama, you don't even see the Libertarian Party because of the way that the GOP corrupt system, it keeps third parties out. And it's not just libertarians, the Constitution Party can't get on there, the Green Party, the Marijuana Party, they can't. No one can even touch it without a certain amount of signatures.
Now, the LP was on the ballot the last two presidential elections
because they got enough of the signatures they needed for it. The thing is that from a state level position, this is one thing that the state LP is constantly talking about. Anybody who's plugged into whether it's the state page or the state group, constantly looking for people to do ballot access signatures. You might be able to get on it, but you're not going to stay on it, unless like the Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah,
you
gotta win. You gotta win to stay on it, pretty much.
More or less, yeah. And and I'm not sitting here like just repping like the LP, but I'm also the Green Party has just as much as right to have their candidates be heard as anyone else, but the Green Party is not as prevalent in this state as, like, say, the Constitutional Party, which you talk about a shit show of crazy. That's a shit show of crazy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But like the Green Party, I mean, the Libertarian Party could probably garner enough signatures if we had the money to go do it. The Green Party is completely fucked when it comes to getting on the ballot in Alabama. There's no way they could get 100,000 signatures for governor or whatever it is.
I think it was like 60.
60,000?
I think it was for governor.
It was 100,000 for senator.
Maybe.
Or Congress or something like that. But I remember they were, when there was the last meeting that I went to, actually, whenever.
I was there. There.
It was like
our
$3.
last meeting together.
Yeah, that's right. It was like $3 to get some signature slinger to come in, and it was like $3 a signature to go get 100,000 signatures. Well, of course we're not fucking running for Senate. Are you stupid?
Yeah.
We'll stick with state where we only got to get 600 signatures.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more affordable, a little more palatable.
Yeah.
So what else is going on inside Alabama politics? This seemed to be the kind of like the big thing with the Senate seat, but I haven't really seen too much else come out of anything else out of Montgomery.
No, there hasn't been much.
All right.
No, I don't know. I haven't really seen anything either. One thing I did look up though, and I wanted to mention that as far as whoever wins this seat, they're going to be right back up for election in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. That's true. Catching it mid-cycle like that, that's going to be, I don't know.
So it's whoever it is isn't going to be a full-term senator. They're not going to. They're only going to complete the rest of Sessions' term.
Appointment, right? Yeah.
He was last elected in 2014. So.
I'm curious to see if Mo Brooks tries his hand at it again. God knows he's going to be running in 2018. So.
Well, then we'll see all the Libertarian pages pop up in Mo Brooks fan club shit.
Oh my God, no.
That was the thing that really got me. It was like, oh, hooray, let's vote for Mo Brooks. Oh, hooray, let's vote for Roy Moore. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. And if anybody knows me and sees me trolling Facebook like I do, I have a lot of time to poop apparently, and so I'd like to troll. And Anson Knowles and I got into a heated match in regards to the fact that he started pimping Mo Brooks, and I look at stuff like that as kind of like a turncoat. It's like you can't sit here and say that I'm this big libertarian, but I'm gonna go support Mo Brooks for Senate because why? XYZ. There was no logical reason for it. Anyway, all right. So that closes out Alabama politics stuff. We got a few minutes left. We didn't get around to doing a dick of the week. There was just way too much stuff going on. I couldn't.
I thought we had decided on one.
Ooh, did we?
Fuck that. That was like last week that we decided on this week's ticket. I don't even fucking remember who it was.
Oh shit!
I'm
not prepared for that.
Okay, we'll skip it this week.
We'll roll into. Probably. There was like we had, I think last week we had the mom flushing babies down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her. I still gotta get that certificate.
Yeah, it was a day or two after that Halston actually came up with this week.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't fucking remember who it was.
Whatever it is, Halston, I agree. You got my vote. I don't know.
Oh, we all agreed. Just as a clue, cop shoots deaf guy.
Oh, the cop shot the
yes.
deaf guy for having a walking stick.
Yes, and he got shot because he wouldn't follow orders because he didn't understand what the cop was saying.
Right, and
because he's deaf.
The lady that called the cops, she said that he was attacking her with that stick, and then later came back and told the police that he had hit her dog because her dog attacked him, and that's why he carried the stick to begin with, because he walked a lot, and the dogs always tried to come after him, but he couldn't hear them, so they would get too close. He didn't have to hit him with a stick. He got shot for protecting himself against irresponsible. Yep.
All this shit with the NFL bullshit has just kind of like clouded my ability to see anything past that, especially when I'm kind of looking at what's happening in the news. It's always NFL. Oh, I'm so mad at the NFL. America. I'll get my Bud Light and my football.
Yeah, wear my American flag underwear and have shit stains on it. But you better not kneel.
And go ahead, Horace. Go ahead.
That is one area where I'm very lucky as far as sports. The only sport I really give a damn about, the biggest, I would say probably 60% or more of the players aren't Americans. Hockey. They're Canadians and Russians and,
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I didn't want to dedicate too much time to this whole topic that everyone's Facebook is just blowing up with, and it's such shit. It's just complete bullshit. Everyone's pissed off about people taking a knee. No one's saying shit about the fact that federal tax dollars are being poured into these private organizations. The NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, not hurting for money at all. No reason why tax dollars need to be going supporting them. Period. Whatsoever. I don't care if it's $100,000. I don't care if it's $10. Don't give a shit. It's tax dollars that don't need to be going to them. Well, but no one's saying anything about that. And actually, Mo Brooks, who I guess is all of our congressmen technically, came out saying that he's putting forth legislation or some that's going to actually defund any sports organization that disrespects the flag and the national anthem. You're a fiscal conservative. You got into office based on the whole Tea Party movement of being fiscally conservative. Why the fuck are you even supporting any tax dollars going to these organizations? Why?
Yeah.
Because
he doesn't fucking understand what he's for. Just like everybody else.
Exactly. He's a puppet just for the Alabama GOP.
He's in it for the fucking retirement check, just like the rest of them.
Oh shit, I would be too. When $174,000 a year for the rest of my life, jeez. I'd be like, yep, I'm out.
Yeah, but you have to. How long do you have to serve to get that though?
Last I heard, as long as you serve like a full term.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
Congressmen have to be elected. They have to finish their third term. It's 6 years.
Oh, okay, 6 years.
I thought it was 10 or 12.
No, I don't.
Whatever.
It's not. You have to be reelected. Yeah. You have to be elected 3 times. You have to win your election 3 times.
Yeah. You have
so I guess for a senator that would be 18 years.
No, senators get it after 1 term.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it's a great racket they've got going on up there. Let me just put. Yeah, that's fucking brilliant. But but what you see too,
military has to serve 20.
Yeah. Right. Fuck. But what you see a lot of, with throughout all this is, and Halston, you and I were kind of talking about this before we started, before we went live. It's like using veterans as your scapegoat for X. Doesn't matter what it is. Think about the people who died. Please stop. I'm telling you as a veteran, please fucking stop using veterans as your scapegoat for whatever agenda you're trying to push, because every veteran will tell you that they serve to protect your rights. Okay, whether they agree with your rights or not is a whole different thing. YouTube's full of bushy ass beard guys who are ex-military who are pissed off about the whole flag thing. regardless, a veteran goes to serve to protect your rights based on the propaganda that we're taught.
Yep.
Please stop.
That is one thing, though, I've been saddened to see is a number of veterans who are not saying that. They are going, I served, you should, to protect your freedom, and you should stand at it's like then you didn't fight for freedom.
We call those whiny bitches. They're whiny bitches.
Yes. I think.
Come at me, bro. I don't give a fuck. You're a whiny bitch. If you are using your service to garner some sort of glory, fuck you and your fucking bushy beard. Fuck you.
That's.
And I did not serve, so.
No, and that's fine. I mean, not
the bushy beard is bushy beard. Unrelated.
Your bushy beard's great.
Those guys are no crap.
It just, it's weird for me because of having the political stance that I have. People find out that I'm a veteran. I don't usually advertise that too much overall. I mean, like, people will ask, have you been in the military? I say, yeah, or let's see my resume and say, oh, okay, you were an infantry medic. That's cool. Thank you for your service. It's that thank you for your service thing I have a really hard time with, because
you're welcome.
I was like, sure, you're welcome. When I was selling shoes at New Balance, I got it all the time. Oh, thank you for serving. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the paycheck and the free food and the room and board and the job for how many number of years. But it's one of those things where it's so over glorified that everybody's a hero because they put on a uniform, and that's just not the case. I was a medic, and I don't think anything I did was heroic. I did my fucking job. I did what a UPS driver does. I did my fucking job. So I was just as heroic as the guy that's delivering your Amazon package.
Exactly. What about you, that's the key to all of this. Is the military is a really good sample size. It's a really good sample of America as a whole, and the 20% of Americans who are just complete douchebags, also that 20% joins the military, and there's 20% who are douchebags, and there's 10% who are just complete fuck ups, and then there are a few people that are okay, and then there's some that are real live war heroes that put valor and glory behind them to go do their jobs and save people and do whatever they do. But those are the ones that the guys that are out there that actually deserve glory, I guess you could say, that were still just doing their fucking jobs. But those guys aren't the ones with their cameras on Facebook Live telling you how you should stand up and how you're a disrespectful piece of shit. It's the bitches. It's the ones who maybe they, for whatever reason, they join for whatever, free college or whatever, and then they get out and they think they're high and mighty, and they ask every single restaurant they go into if they have a veterans discount, and they start every single Facebook post as a veteran, yada yada. Just get the fuck out of here. I hate that. Man.
That too, the whole going in and asking for veterans discount, that is just like, what the hell? That is like serious fucking entitlement shit right there.
I don't think at Home Depot because they have a sign that says, "We proudly give 10% off to veterans," and I'm fucking. Okay. Oh yeah, I suck that one up.
Okay, fine, but I'm just saying the guys who are out there who are constantly budget shopping, using their veteran status to save 10% at Applebee's. It's fucking Applebee's, man. Just fucking pay the ticket.
Right, yeah.
Or post online, so-and-so restaurant doesn't do.
Oh, yeah. That's the type of shit that just drives me up the fucking wall with veterans. It's like, when did you end your military contract and just become a just flat out bitchy little piece of shit douchebag?
Well, it's because of situations like this where everyone just was supposed to grovel at the feet of somebody who served in the military, and that's not the case.
No,
I didn't join the military for people to come over and just shake my hand and say good job, son. No, I did it because I needed a job. I come from a line of military in my family. It's like, hey, let's do it. All for it. Learned a really good skill. Had a pretty decent time while I was doing it. Great. That's I'm good. I don't need your adoration. You're making it awkward now. That's pretty much kind of where I'm at. I was like, okay, now it's kind of weird. Now it's just a little weird. Please stop touching me. I'm good.
Yeah. The biggest thing that pisses me off is all the veterans just bitching about all the shit they had to endure when 2% of veterans are are actually combat veterans with a combat job, and then like 2% of them are actually in combat.
Yeah,
like much more since IEDs and stuff started blowing people up. But the reality of who actually went to kick somebody's ass and got their ass kicked a little bit is about this much out of this much. It's preposterous. Yeah. It's just like when that first time that you and I went out to lunch with Josh, and we were all talking about our veteran stuff, and you were like, I was a medic, and Josh was like, I was admin or something like that. And I was like, finally, motherfuckers that tell the truth.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, I was a third.
Special forces, but I did their payroll.
Yeah, I rappelled down the mountains in Iraq, or whatever the fuck you did.
I don't know of any of my friends in the military that did not be truthful about what they did. One was an MP in.
He should have lied.
Kabul, I believe it was. Another one did. I forget what it was, but basically he logistics as far as handling toxic materials. Disposal.
Okay, so
CBRN or something.
CBRN, yep, CBRN.
And it's the thing, like it's just as cool to be a cook as it is to be a special forces operator. Like, you still served your country. Like, I mean, maybe not as cool. Like, I wouldn't fucking like it as much.
It's not as cool. That's not.
Yeah, not as cool.
I knew a lot of cooks. Well, they hated their life with a passion.
The other one I think had the personally coolest job. He was EOD.
Yeah, that's a cool job.
That's a nightmare. Oh my god.
He said it was interesting.
I'm honest. I'm honest about my service. I was like, I fixed broken penises. That's pretty much I was in an infantry unit with a bunch of guys who didn't wear condoms. I cleaned up dirty penises. It's pretty much that was my main job for the first, especially for the first.
My job was to get my penis dirty, which is
And
thank God for people like you.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much for coming to Sick Call without taking a shower after a very dirty weekend. Thank you so much for giving me that pleasure. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but it's that's the two things that really piss me off out of this whole thing. Is number one.
But do you realize something, that we are veterans that are bitching about other veterans who are bitching?
Right. We're bitches, and we're bitches. Damn it.
We're bitches of bitches.
I tried my whole life not to be a bitch, but here I am. But that's my number one complaint, is veterans using their service to garner some sort of glory for what they've done. The other one is people using veterans, other non-veterans using veterans to force compliance on people, which is fucking stupid. God, it's so stupid. They fought for your freedoms to stand up and salute the skycloth.
I fought for your freedom to shut the fuck up.
Right.
Yeah, did y'all see the one story where I think he was one of the World War II vets, 97 years old.
He kneeled.
And people were actually going, well, he must have Alzheimer's or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. If it doesn't fit your agenda or your story, we're going to discredit it based on the fact that he's old.
We're piece of shit veterans because we're not. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's what some people are thinking.
And that's fine. I served for you to be able to think that. So
right, exactly.
Suck it.
Yeah, you're welcome. There you go.
Yeah. So that's just the crazy nonsense that goes on over this, and having old ladies telling me to shut up because I'm as me being a veteran, I should be more appreciative of the opportunity that I had. I was like, oh my god, it's a good thing there's a screen between us, because I would have some choice words for you.
Right. Yeah. I got into it was really a conversation. He was trying to get me to argue with him, but he was like, I was like, I used my as a veteran. I was like, this is bullshit. And he was like, as a combat veteran, yada yada yada. I don't know where you went to basic, quote unquote, but I went to boot camp. And I was like, oh, okay, so
you went to boot camp,
right? So he's a Marine, right?
I was gonna say, yeah.
But it just he's automatically better because he was a Marine, but naturally we all know that they're better than us. So, but still, it's like you're pissing on veterans' graves. Oh, no, I'm not. I would never do that.
Even if I wouldn't piss on non-veterans' graves. That's just rude.
I mean, there's a few, But those same people may be veterans that still piss on their graves too. Yeah, it doesn't.
It's not
because
the job. It's not the job or lack of job that would make me want to piss on someone's grave. It's just a person that's 6 feet under.
Which sums this all up. Like a person's character that's how you should be judged, not by your veteran status. I know a lot of shitheads that I served with. A lot of them.
Fuck yeah. And most of them are cooks.
Fucking pat on the back, right? Fucking cooks. And they get the pat on the back that there are other people who deserve more. Like there's so many SEALs and pararescuemen and combat controllers and Army Rangers and special operators and Marine Force recon and all these guys who have really done really badass high speed shit for America, and they're not asking for pats on the back. It's the fucking it's the supply.
Actually, probably when yes, thank you. Yeah, it's the mess hall NCO who's just like, I served and I sacrificed.
Safety NCO.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, but like one of the most world-renowned Navy SEALs, Jesse Ventura, came out and he's like, I served for him to be able to do this. He's talking about the Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah,
Kaepernick.
He came out and he's like, I support him doing that. I served as a Navy SEAL for him to be able to do that. That's actually a lot of the veterans that are out there are like, look, I don't care. I'm out. I did it. So you can have the right to do that. Just like my father did, just like his father did, as far back. So if you're out there and you're in the heat of an argument and you've never served, do not, for the love of God, do not say anything about veterans or what you think they think or know, because not the case. If you haven't served, just refrain from commenting on what you think a veteran would say. All right, we're about 10 minutes over. We say we close this thing out.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, yet again, this has been another hour, and now an hour and 10 minutes of your life that you've wasted watching us here at Uncivil Liberty. Could have been doing a lot of other things, quite possibly masturbating, but instead you decided to spend it with us, and we appreciate that.
Very much.
So, anyways, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you again next week.
And fuck Roy Moore.
And fuck Roy Moore.
Definitely fuck Roy Moore.
Later, guys.
Okay, bye.